My name is Alex Kislov. Welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to show you how I made my track Paranoid.
Been around the block like twice. Think I'm playing not nice. Elephant in the room. After party my vice.
Originally this song was going to be a homage to Black Sabbath. With the recent passing of the legendary Ozzy Osbourne, I thought it was the right time to bring it back.
Serve it up hot and then give it right back. Serve it up hot and then give it right back. Back.
All right, let's get started. First things first, I'm getting old, need my glasses, that screen's far away. We're not gonna sit there and struggle like this, so we'll start with that. But the second thing that I would say when you start writing a song or anything that you do, you'll notice I have these little labels at the top, right? It says intro, radio intro, our drop 1, our breakdown, this is a break, drop 2, and then the outro, etc., etc. This is very important. Do not skip this step because it helps you to understand the full picture of your structure and being able to fill in the puzzle. We got our intro going. Obviously I wanted something that DJs can play, so we have a little bit of a drum going. And then inside of my drums, I just put a basic EQ8. This was a sample that I found, and then I later changed the transients and beats, and you can do this by going into the file, right? So you kind of take each one, you can warp it. I chose not to, it sounded good without it. But if you do choose to warp, there's an option called transient beats, which I like to use a lot, and we'll get into that later. But I'll take a transient, right? And then I will set it forward, and we will drop the transient much less. So you'll hear that there's a tighter touch to the percussion when you're changing its transients. And this can really help you to add more layers. You're adding room for more layers to come in. And that's where our bass line comes in. We got a basic bass line written out here in E minor. We are operating 127 BPM. So the bass line is mostly E, C sharp, D. That's kind of our main notes there. So we got tunnel vision out of the bass categories inside of the deep house progression pack for Nexus 4. Another thing that I recommend doing is always kind of screw around with your velocities. Hear how it sounds when your envelope moves around, filtering. There's a lot of different ways to create the same sound but make it sound different, right? It's the same 3 notes, but you can add motion to them by giving it a little bit of decay or you know, changing your attack or resonance or anything like that. But I like my bass lines kind of sit right here between 100 to 1000 kilohertz. That way I have enough room to bring in higher elements, which I love doing. I love ARPs that sit on, you know, like on the higher octave ends. I love different types of harmonies or chords that will kind of come in subtly, and when you keep your bass line low, it gives you room to operate on the higher end of the frequencies. Next thing we're gonna break down is our melodies. So over here I froze a chord. Now why did I freeze a chord? Sometimes I'll work with my push, or I'll work with my piano right here, and I'm operating with so many different plugins and so much is happening. And while MacBook's amazing, and if you don't use MacBook, that's fine, everything will work, but while it's amazing, when you are literally putting all of these plugins to operate on the computer, it kind of freezes you up. You lose a little bit of latency. So what I like to do is freeze my chords. And let's look at our chord right here. I'm gonna solo it. It's just a very smooth, like I want to say deep, minimal tech kind of a vibe, and I really liked it because it gave me like this skating vibe, like bam, 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 you know, which gives it that groove to the song. So for me, that came in during the break. Let's get into the percussion. My perks kind of sound like this when they're soloed. So you see I got a ride, I got a snare, I have this little top loop that kind of plays during the breakdown, and it gives it that tension that I like to build during music. Then I have a hat loop going in there as a sample. So what I like to do is go to beats right here, check it on transients, hit it forward, bring it back, tighten it, right? This gives me room. I want to make sure that they're sitting on the high end, right? There we go. So our EQ8 is showing that it's above the 1K mark on the frequency. Then we got our snares, right? So in this instance, my snare is a clap and a snare. It kind of sounds like both. This is what the sample will look like. And in there, again, everything, any sample you use can be alternated. One sound can be made into 100 different ways. I put a solid EQ on it. Let me bring that in the screen. Nothing crazy. We kept it on snare. It's pretty basic. I didn't do much to my snare here. And then we're going to go into the top loop. In the top loop, you can see that kind of comes in during the break, and it comes in right here during the outro. So let's solo it. So my top loop's a little bit different, unique. It's not like hitting on every other note, it's kind of hitting on the off beats. And again, very important, you make sure you gotta EQ it so that it doesn't sit on the low end. Don't let it clash with your bass line. Percussion loves to clash with bass. So that's why every time what I do is I slap an EQ8 on everything. It doesn't matter what it is. I put an EQ8 on it and I let it sit where it belongs. And what I recommend is looking up what sounds belong in what frequencies. So my percussion, I like in the mid and the high section. I don't like it too much on the low section. So we got our top loop going and I have a kickstart on it, and that kickstart is giving it that break for the kick to come in. So if you hear it coming in at the same time with our percussions and other elements, you'll hear that our top loop kind of gives our drums room to breathe. So we got our top loop and then it's riding with the ride, snare, and then we got our hat. Now for me, the hat's where the groove lives, right? That's the kind of like the quick part of it. That's where you can really alternate how the groove or the percussion kind of feels or sways when you're riding it. So if we get a breakdown on my hat, again, we use a sample on this. We use the PLX NFP. And with here, we just have a basic solid EQ. I'm gonna turn on that EQ8. And then again, I did manage the transients on it. So I've set it to 41 under beats when you're warped. So this is what our percussion sounds like with the melody. You know, it's got this very nice, like, deep tech vibe off the bat. Not even with a kick yet. And that's what I want. You want your percussion to move you without having the kick there yet. Because the kick's just gonna add that, you know? And then here's my top loop coming in, so it's adding that tension with the percussion. Again, keep in mind, all you're hearing right now is melody, the chords, and my percussion. Break, drop. And no top loop here. My top loop kind of comes later, but I kind of want to bring it in more here, right during my outro, so it would sound. All right, so now we got our effects going. And I kind of kept it very simple. We got some impacts running in, so let's hear this impact right here. Poof. Very basic impact, and I also started the track with the same impact, and I just kind of laid it out on every other 32 or 64 beat. And then over here we have our piano synth, so let's hear that. Just a very basic, and I think if you look and you open it, no, we got nothing, but I did add on my B section, which is my shifter delay. I added a shifter delay to this channel, and I love having these tools available early so that you can sample different things. And I think without the shifter, like for example, if I turn this off, it's just one note. Bam. I have a little synth stab here and kind of sounds like that, and that works really well with this cashmere flange riser that I use, and that sounds like this. And then a little short fill. And what I would do too is I'd add a little bit more of a shifter. Like I like how a delay would work well on, a delay in my opinion would work well here. See how it's kind of sitting there a little further? Nice, that's really good. I like that personally. So let's hear our effects in context with our percussion. Our perks right here. We're gonna add our melody, even though it's not in that part of the track yet, our bass line, and our kick. That room, my vice. Okay, so that's like a single vocal running, and then I think we layered it right here, right? And this sounds like this. And what I really wanted this to sound distant, like kind of like you're on the radio almost, right? So what I do here, I lowered the frequency on the EQ8 or the kilohertz and something like that. I probably got that wrong. Whoever, don't ostracize me for it. I don't speak English as my first language, but that's what I did with my EQ8 effect. So we're gonna go back, right? I want it to sound a little bit far away. I don't want it to be on the low end, but on the full end spectrum, it sounds like this, right? It kind of comes with these chords. I didn't love them, so I'm gonna get rid of it a little bit. I'm gonna drop down on the EQ8. Okay, so we're gonna go with fullness air on the flat filter Pro Q3, and that gives it room, right? And this helps not to do a lot of mix down later, right? I'm making sure that it's clean before it even gets into the mix and mastering aspect of the track. I have a kickstart on it, which I then alternated to a new plugin that I just got. It's called the Fan. I forget. I think it's Audio Hertz that runs it, but I really like how this feels. It kind of runs like as if you're speaking into a fan. So like, whatever. We got this fan, and like if this fan was running, you're like ah. That's what this effect does, and I love it because I don't have to do all this weird shit. All right, so we got this other Vox effects kind of running here, and I really like it. It was kind of sitting on, you know, and this kind of gives it like that weirdness that I like, the experimental aspect of a house song. That's what gives it that soul or touch that is, you know, not evident in every track. Just move like that. I mean, it's like a sexy vocal. It really felt powerful to me. In general, I'm a bigger fan of female vocals, so that was a no-brainer for me, but yeah, this sounds good. So we got everything running together, right? We got our Vox running right now. Whispers in the back on the Foley. Percussion's running. And you'll hear when the ride comes in, that adds the tension that I wanted for the song. So I structured it later towards what I consider drop one. All right, so right here, tension, build up, quick, 3, 4. See how it feels faster, but the BPM doesn't change? A lot of that is in your hats and your ride. Your percussion will change your groove. So definitely don't skip over adding those elements to your percussions to give it that speed. You can always take them away or strip them in, strip them out. And my teacher, who was Orville, always taught me less is more. But in order to have less, first you have to have more. So fill up your session with sounds that you like, and then eventually start stripping it down or combining them into layers, which is what I did with a lot of my percussion here. Back, 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 breakdown. So you got the chords playing here, kind of playful with the vocals. There's like a little bit of a call and repeat vibe going on. Top loop. Tension building. It kind of operates like a riser. Effects coming in. Pause. Tension. Build. All right, anyways, thanks for listening to my TED Talk. I mean my tutorial breakdown of how I wrote my track Paranoid. My name's Alex Kislov. Feel free to post some comments. Let me know if I missed something or if you want me to break down some other stuff in the future. This is my first time doing this, and I wanted to pay homage to Ozzy Osbourne. So thanks so much for listening. See you on the flip side.